was introduced to a mega church in a city in America, I won't mention the name, by my father in the faith, Archbishop Idahosa. The church was over 7,000. Everybody who was anybody in America preached in that church. Huge, mega. Then something happened in that church, and the church went down. Then, few years after, another guy inherited that church, and he invited me to preach. So when I finished preaching, I was in his office, and I told him, I said, hey, I know the history of this church. There is something about this church you have to deal with. And when I told him, he looked at me strangely because he's a good preacher, very good teacher, a scholar. And I looked at him and I shook my head and I said, you haven't been tested and tried, young man. I didn't see anything. Years after, I was preaching in a church in Baltimore called Rock City Church, Bishop Pierce. Whilst I was preaching, I saw that preacher at the back sitting there. After the service, I called and I said, come here, what do you want here? He said, I came to see you. And I said, what happened? He said, you remember what you told me? The same thing has happened to me. Same thing. He also lost the church. And I said, it is something to do with the land where this church is. I said, there is an altar here. Then, few years after, I preached for a friend of mine who had 30,000 people in his church, also in America. After preaching, I went to his office and I said, this land where your church is, once upon a time, it was a cemetery. They used to bury red Indian people here. He said, how do you know? I said, investigate it. And he called me later and said, yes, it's true. There was a cemetery here. And I said, then you must deal with it. Because whatever it is will kill what you are doing here. He said, what should I do? I said, you have to come to Ghana. I can't help you. Come to Ghana. I was with him with my daughter, Paula White. So when we walk out, Paula said, what do you think? I said, he won't come. He will not come. He has too much money. He's huge. He has 30,000 people. He won't come. It was not long. Big name, big guy. Bam! Went down. Lost his church. The pastor that was in that church, I told, is now has taken over this guy's church, trying to rebuild it. The same thing that happened to that bishop before he died has started happening to him. And he's a friend of one of my sons in Ghana. So my son told him, Charlie, go and see Papa. Go and see Papa. So my son called me and said, Papa, he wants to come. And I said, me, I'm here. If he wants, he should come. I'm here. We'll help.